10 years of Now Hear This Entertainment. I don't know, I'm amazed and I'm thankful. Amazed, not that I made it this far, but I think when you think back to February 2014, you don't envision this is something I'm going to be doing every week for 10 years. So I think the feat in and of itself, especially considering how many people start up a podcast and don't even make it to 10 episodes, never mind 10 years. I'm obviously proud of it, but I'm really, really thankful. I'm supposed to give some kind of acceptance speech, I feel like, in a situation like this. I can see where when people get in this situation, though, you feel like you're going to leave people out. So I don't want to try to go into all the people that I should for that fear. I do want to recognize and thank, though, Dominic Pages, who hosted me to get Now Hear This Entertainment started at his Crystal Blue Sound Studios all those years ago, and I continued to record there week after week for, probably 3 years at least. So I really appreciate him putting me on the fast track to podcasting at a time when I didn't know what I was doing technologically. He did, and so I was able to do that. And obviously, I absolutely have to thank my wife, how supportive she's been through all this. We interestingly met just probably not even 2 months after I had started the podcast. So her first sort of vocal introduction to me was listening to Now Hear This Entertainment, and just latched on and supported me all the way, still does, and has been with me every step of the way. I think it should go without saying that the worldwide listening audience, I absolutely am so thankful for them. I can't stress enough how grateful I am, because what starts to happen is you thank them over and over, and it starts to sound repetitive. It starts to sound like he's doing that because he should. But I genuinely appreciate someone giving me 45, 50, 55, sometimes 60 minutes of their time in 1 week compared to all the other podcasts that are out there. And then to do it week after week, month after month, year after year, and to watch it grow over the years to 163 countries around the world where the show has gotten listeners from. I don't know that I can express my gratitude enough. And of course, the guests. The guests have just been fantastic, and I've gotten to meet and talk to so many wonderful guests over the years. They've given so many great tips. They've given so many great lessons. They've shared so many cool stories. And I think back to that episode 1. I think back to that episode 2. I think back to that initial recording time when you're kind of in this mode of, who am I going to get as guests for this? So to end up getting to a point where Roy Orbison Jr. becomes a guest on the podcast is something I couldn't have envisioned all those years ago. I like to talk about people like Buck Johnson, who is the keyboard player for Aerosmith. And these are the people that I think really are largely responsible. The lead guitar player for Garth Brooks, Johnny Garcia, that's probably still the all-time most listened to episode. And I still remember that was episode 24. These are the people I was starting to say who I feel are largely responsible for the attention that the show has gotten. Because when you get someone like that, you get the drummer for Cheap Trick, right? All of a sudden people are starting to pay attention more, and you say, I've had the bass player for Pink as a guest, and it's one of those tell me more, or who else have you had, right? Then I tell them about the trumpet player for Billy Joel. I'd like to tell people a lot of these that I'm talking about right now, because of their status, the fiddle player for Taylor Swift. These are people that will start to get the attention of listeners, and my hope is that they'll tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends, and they'll tell 2 friends, and it'll magnify from there. And I feel that it really has over the years. So all of these great guests, a couple of Rock and Roll Hall of Famers. I think I'm up to 7 Grammy winners now, 3 Emmy Award winners. And of course, all the people who have been on that recounted their lessons learned from the reality shows like America's Got Talent or American Idol or The Voice or The X Factor. I still remember sitting face to face with Allison Porter, who won The Voice, and doing my interview with her. So really, really great guests, and I can't even begin to scratch the surface. I'm up to 522, so certainly there's so many, but those are some of the highlights, and just so grateful for everybody who's been a guest and given me their time and has contributed in that way to the show. Some great friendships that I've made, nice relationships that I've built. And, the events that I've been able to go to because of Now Hear This Entertainment are significant. I remember going to the NAMM show in January of 2017 for the first time. And up until that point, I had no idea what it is. And then there I was going every year after that. Songwriters festivals were just like NAMM. I've recorded Now Hear This Entertainment interviews on location. And these are in no particular order, but I can picture myself now sitting in different places over the couple of years that the festival's been going on. I'm talking about the Lake Martin Songwriters Festival in Alabama, and recording interviews on site there. And the Songwriters Festivals, because I've done them at others, the Pensacola Beach Songwriters Festival, I've been going to that festival for years and years and years. And that's such a nice relaxed atmosphere to talk with a guest, to talk with a songwriter. And they're anxious to storytell, and they're anxious to sit across from you and talk about their career highlights and what they're up to. The Frank Brown International Songwriters Festival, my gosh, that festival has just been so fantastic to be a part of in different ways, but certainly recording interviews on location there. There's a bunch of events that because of podcasting, because of NHTE, I have been able to be there on site. And I hope that they feel that I've brought something to their event by doing these interviews there. But, also I've gotten to speak at events around the country because of podcasting, because of the longevity of Now Hear This Entertainment. Sure, I'm thinking of Podfest Multimedia Expo in Orlando, which is very nearby to me, but I'm also thinking of having gone all the way out to Los Angeles and spoken at the Outlier Podcast Festival. I'm thinking of Washington, D.C., when I was fortunate enough to do the closing keynote at DC Podfest. There's events that I've spoken at that my subject has been podcasting, but the event itself wasn't even a podcasting event. So something like a mega marketing conference. There's another business conference that I went to where these folks realize what a big deal podcasting has become, how popular it is. And so to be able to go there and talk to these people, talk to realtors in some cases about something like podcasting, I've been really fortunate. But, going down to a place like Miami, and that's not for an event, just going down to Miami and sitting across from a guest and recording those interviews on location just is such a fun dynamic. Las Vegas, I've had the pleasure of sitting down with Now Hear This Entertainment guests in person in Las Vegas, and you just feel the entertainment buzz around you. Now, of course, needless to say, I've certainly interviewed people on location in person in Nashville. And so again, there's kind of that, this is a natural place for me to be interviewing a guest who's having success in entertainment, primarily music, because there we are in Nashville. I already mentioned the Pensacola Beach Songwriters Festival. That's in the Florida Panhandle, and that's such a beautiful backdrop, even for something that is not a video podcast, but to have that relaxed atmosphere there. I mentioned that Alabama is a place I've gone to several times, whether it's for the Lake Martin Songwriters Festival or for the Frank Brown International Songwriters Festival, sit and do interviews on location. I don't take anything away from the ones that I do remotely, but I love getting to meet the guests face to face. Of course, Southern California, and I'm talking about places like Los Angeles, but also Anaheim, where the NAMM show is held, and going and meeting people and sitting down and recording there. Of course, Orlando is a hop, skip, and a jump away for me, so I've certainly recorded interviews in person in Orlando, and I plan to continue to do these because it's just so enjoyable to be able to sit with the person and really develop a little bit more of a relationship with them. And then there's all the folks that I've learned from along the way. First and foremost, Chris Kremitzos, who is here in Tampa Bay and kind of saw what podcasting was probably going to become. This is way back in August of 2013. And he was running a meetup, and the speaker is someone else that I want to thank, which is Steve Cherubino, who we affectionately refer to as the Podfather here in Tampa Bay. Steve was the speaker that night, and he was already out doing podcasting. And I really feel like I learned from the two of them so much. And then, yes, certainly, as you start to go to these conferences like Podfest I mentioned and all the other podcasting conferences that I've attended, so many people that I've been able to learn from in the educational sessions, in the hallways, at meals. You network so much that you end up coming home with more information than I think you planned to get when you signed up to go to it. And I also certainly have to thank sponsors and affiliates that have been a part of Now Hear This Entertainment and have continued to support the podcast in some way, shape, or form over the years. That's just a huge part of the equation. And even though it's me that is the voice of it, and I'm the one that you see on social media or in the weekly newsletter, all of these people that I've named all have such an important part in getting me to 10 years. So I'm just so thankful to everyone. I'm so thrilled to have reached this milestone. And as I was saying about, I will still go out and do it on location when I get the chance, I have to conclude by saying that I am not planning on stopping because I still really, really enjoy it. And so I say thank you one final time for this video, but I'm going to continue to thank people all throughout the year for getting me to 10 years of Now Hear This Entertainment.